Every night I read to my children before bed. We've been doing it for years. They enjoy it, I enjoy it. It's a great way to spend some time together and relax before bed. I'm not typically a big reader, so this is a good way for all of us to enjoy a story or two. Of course, most of the books we read are children's books. They especially like Roald Dahl books, such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and so on. Normally, we borrow 4 books every month from the local library. This is the book that we started reading last night, Bored, Milo Finds $105, and the book which we promptly stopped reading due to some perhaps controversial content. The book is about 11-year-old Milo and his ordinary life. As with all books, I take a quick look in the front cover just to see when it was written and so on, in this case 2022. But this caught my eye, ABC Books, as in the publicly funded broadcaster. I thought this could be interesting. I think it's the first ABC book we've ever read. Now, I wasn't exactly sure what editorial powers ABC would have, but on the other page they wrote that the ABC trademark is used under license by HarperCollins Publishers Australia. Looking on the HarperCollins website, on their About Us page, they write, "In May 2009, HarperCollins took over the responsibility for the ABC Books business, which brought us into close partnership with the national broadcaster. The ABC imprint, publishing non-fiction and children's books, has a distinct identity in line with the broadcaster's mission to inform, educate and entertain." Anyway, the point is, ABC is somehow involved in the publishing of these books. Just keep that in mind as we read on. The book starts off explaining that Milo lives in a cul-de-sac, Turtle Place, with a few other kids. They introduce a couple of characters, Milo's mum and Liz. They don't exactly explain who Liz is, but we'll get to that soon. I guess you have your suspicions. They introduce a few other characters. For example, "This is Rocco. I've been trying to work out whether he's good looking or not. I think he might be. What do you think?" Now, I'm not sure why an 11-year-old boy is trying to work out whether another boy is good-looking or not, and then posing the question to the reader. Perhaps this is just innocent, or perhaps the ABC are slowly drip-feeding you their agenda. Remember, we haven't even finished Chapter 1. In Chapter 4, they give us more details about Liz. She's a personal trainer. Liz has really good triceps, and she rides a motorbike. Liz calls out as she walks over to her motorbike. Okay, fine, she's fit, cool, and rides a motorbike. But who is she? In Chapter 5, all is revealed. They give a bit of a backstory. "When Liz moved into our place, I was 7. I remember asking if, because she loved my mum, that made her our stepmother now. She just laughed and just said it made her our Liz." Okay, so Milo has 2 mothers. When I initially saw the ABC logo, I knew there would be something like this. You can't just have a normal story when the ABC is involved. Anyway, I was planning to continue on reading, but both my children said they didn't want to read this book anymore. I asked, why not? And they just said, "It seems a bit strange." "How so?" I asked. They just said, "Milo has 2 mothers. That seems a bit strange." Look, just to be clear, I'm very fair and impartial in our household when it comes to voicing my opinions about other people's lifestyles. I've never tried to manipulate my children into believing something one way or the other. I just speak factually and impartially to them. For example, one day I was walking down the street with my son and he noticed a man with his boyfriend walking down the street. He asked, "Why are those men holding hands?" I replied, "I guess they're gay." What does gay mean? It means a man who likes other men. And another time we were watching a parade and the local university had a float celebrating the LGBT community. My daughter asked, "Why is that man wearing a dress and makeup?" I said, "Because he likes wearing dresses, I guess." And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. Of course, on this channel I'm a bit more opinionated, but this channel is not targeting children. On each of my videos I set it to, "This video is set to not made for kids, set by you." No, it's not made for kids. But these ABC books are targeting children, in that it's a children's book. They're portraying this story as normal, but based on my kids' reaction, this story is clearly not normal. One thing I've always said about children, they're very honest. I'm not saying they can't lie, but when it comes to their reactions and their emotions, children are very honest. When the children told me they didn't want to read this book anymore, that was their honest reaction. Just to be clear, I'm not dismissing the LGBT community. I'm a realist. Clearly, in Australia, there are gay people. Clearly, some of those gay people live together. And a subset of those gay people living together have children. Whether that's children from previous relationships, or adoption, or surrogacy, or whatever, of course, realistically, there are children living with gay parents. I'm not here to say whether that's right or wrong, or anywhere in between, but I am here to question whether that's normal or not. By all definitions of the word, it isn't. Normal, conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected. Milo growing up with two mothers is not a normal situation. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong or that it doesn't happen, but it is not normal. And the ABC or whoever else pretending that it is normal is not doing anybody any favours. A normal family, historically and biologically speaking, means a man and a woman and their biological or adopted children. Two women living together and having a son is rare. It is not common. And therefore, by definition, it is not normal. I'm not saying it can't be loving, I'm not saying it can't be happy, but it's just not normal. When it comes to my family and speaking about the LGBT community, I don't push my children to have opinions either way. They can make up their own minds. And in this case, they did. They said they didn't want to read this book anymore because it felt strange. I was happy to continue reading, I told them as such, but they clearly didn't want to read it anymore. And what sort of father would I be if I forced them to read a book about a lesbian couple just because that's the politically correct thing to do? I would never force them to eat mushrooms that they didn't like. Why would I force them to consume a book they didn't like?